that we don't read books. It's real talk. But the reality is that the number one group of book buyers are black women. I don't know if you knew that. The number one group of book buyers are black women. And if you look at what's propelled this book, and what's gotten my Facebook page growing at 11,000 followers a week, on financial literacy and economic empowerment, is primarily, not exclusively, but primarily people of color who decided to take their life back. And so you should be proud of sitting in a moment in history and being part of history making. History never feels historic when you're sitting in it. It just feels like another day. So what if I told you that the new color wasn't black, white, red, brown, or yellow, as in skin color, but the new color was green, as in the color of U.S. currency? What if I told you that the next movement was not going to be in the streets, as in civil rights, but more so in the suites, as in civil rights? What if I told you that the next movement was not going to be about race and the color line, but really about class and poverty? What if I told you that we're sitting in a moment in history, but history never feels historic when you're sitting in it? Like I said, it feels like another day. But that doesn't mean history's not changing right underneath your feet. And some people would say, in the midst of all this, that there's a conspiracy to keep, quote, some people down. I'm going to confirm today that there is a conspiracy, but it's not the conspiracy you think. It's not white people against black people. It's not black people against brown people. It's not Indians and Asians and others against somebody else. It's none of the things that you thought or you've been told. It's those who have, unconsciously, being against those who don't. So nobody's getting up in the morning and saying that they hate you or they want to jam you up or they want to see you as a failure. Nobody has the energy for all that. People who are making money, who are building wealth, aren't getting up thinking about you. And that's the problem. Did you get that? I told you I'm from the black church. We should seek this. I didn't know that we're having a conversation. Hey Tim, are we having a conversation?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to work with Q&A to talk to me. And by the way, I have no notes here. So this is from my heart, from my head, right directly to you. So I know what I'm talking about. Feel free to interrupt me whenever you feel compelled. There is a conspiracy, but it's not the one you think. The issue is not love or hate today. It's radical indifference. Nobody cares enough about you to hate you. Now, I don't mean that literally. I don't mean your family loves you, your friends love you. But the people on the streets, those who are running companies, those who are building wealth, care mostly about themselves. So they're not waking up in the morning and saying, let me hurt you, let me hate on you. They're talking, in fact, at the highest level is private schools, private roads, private communities, private planes, private security, private lives. They don't hate you. They're not thinking about you. And I put this in the book. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and tell you about the rules. Then we're going to have a real conversation. So rule number one on this conspiracy that is undermining your aspiration. When I say your aspiration, and I need to be clear because this is primarily an audience of color, but I said the same thing to a mainstream Caucasian audience last week in New York City. And I'm going to say to everybody is that your problem today is not that you're black or white, is that you're part of what I call the invisible class. You're invisible to power. You're invisible to wealth. You're invisible to, you don't feel like your vote counts. That's why 100 million people didn't vote. There's a very prominent guy in the media right now. I won't mention his name. I think he's done a lot of great things for social justice and civil rights, but he didn't vote. And he's proud that he didn't vote. I have a problem with that because that then creates an environment where some people become elected office that don't represent your interests and maybe even public interests, but we endorsed that by not voting. But when you feel invisible, you don't show up in your own life. Extremely important point, which means the bad guys win.
Yes.
So, I want to make clear here that there's a boogeyman in your life. But it's not just your life, it's 80% of everybody in America, because 70% of all Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. So if you're living in New York City, you're making $70,000 a year, you're struggling to make ends meet. You're living in Atlanta, Georgia, making $50,000 a year, $40,000 a year, which is middle class, struggling to make ends meet. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Okay, you see, that wasn't a black amen, it wasn't a white amen, it wasn't a Latino amen, it wasn't an Asian amen, it was just an amen. You're living in a small town in Alabama making $30,000 a year, $25,000, you're struggling to make ends meet. You're living in a white rural community making $25,000 a year, you're struggling to make ends meet. So you got too much month at the end of your money. There's a third of all Americans who have to sell their car to raise $3,000. 65% of Americans don't have $500 in savings for an emergency. Did you hear that? 65% of Americans don't have $500. That's not a racial thing. That's a human thing. And so there's something going on in the world. This is a global issue, by the way. 1% of the world's population own half of the wealth of the world. I'm going to repeat that. By the way, these are not just rich Caucasians. These are rich Asians, rich Russians, yes, some rich Africans. These are just rich people from all parts of the world who got the memo. So you have 1% in the world that own half of the world's wealth, which is not equitable and not sustainable, but there's a way to go about leveling that playing field that makes sense, and there's a way of going about it that does not. Let me tell you the way that does not. People say, well, we like socialism. Undergirding this is somebody who says that they hate rich people. Here's my response to that. No, you don't. No, you don't. You hate rich people until you become rich. Can I get an amen? Amen? What you hate is a gamed system. What you hate is being manipulated. What you hate is feeling like no matter how hard you work, you just can't prosper. You're on a treadmill. And no matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you try to take care of your children, you can't seem to get ahead. And if you're smart and you're intelligent and you would have got a college degree and you did everything right, you kept your nose clean and you passed and you didn't break any laws and you never went to jail and you were a model citizen and you can't succeed, there's a perception then it must be a rigged system, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to suggest to you there's something else. You never got the memo. And the memo is not written down anywhere. It's not in a university book. It's not in a curriculum. No one ever taught you the memo. It's actually not written down not just for you, but for 80% of the people in the world never got the memo. So we'll go back to this concept of we want socialism. Now, I was just with the Crown Prince of Norway yesterday in New York. Who's the future king of Norway, which, as you probably know, that part of the world is known for sort of a socialist type of approach. But it's not socialism. Because even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, this is Shimon Peres told me this when I was in Jordan, he was from Israel, you must first collect money like a capitalist. Am I getting too deep?
No.
I'm going to repeat this. Even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, challenge everything that I'm saying that you don't understand, by the way, you must first collect money like a capitalist. Before you can give it away, you got to collect it. You can't give away something you don't have. So you say, well, John, explain to me Norway. It's a wonderful country. They got oil. They were poor 100 years ago. But they found oil, and they took that oil and used it for good purposes. And now have one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world. Sweden, socialist country. Sweden has agriculture. They got forestry. and not a lot of people. So they basically, without damaging the environment, are able to take enough of this agricultural land and chop the lumber and sell it to a world that needs desks, chairs, and banisters. Now, this gets to my central point. The first rule of my book is you live in a free enterprise system, embrace it. It's the first rule of the book, that you are capital. These are two things I want you to understand. Let me deal with the free enterprise system first. From the time you get up in the morning until the time you go to bed at night, if your life's not about money, if your life's not about God or love, your life's about money. I want you to think about, challenge everything I'm saying now. This is not me speaking to you, I'm having a conversation. So you can interrupt me anytime you like. We okay? Challenge me if something I'm saying doesn't make sense to you. From the time you get up in the morning until the time you go to bed at night, you're having an economic conversation with yourself and the rest of the world. Yes or no?
Yes.
So you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth. Did some socialist state give you a toothbrush? Or did somebody buy it? Somebody purchased the toothbrush. Somebody purchased the toothbrush, the toothpaste. Somebody purchased, help me out here, the light don't come on by themselves. Somebody's paying the light bill. Children think the lights come on by themselves. That's why they leave the lights on all day. You guys need to have a family economic meeting once a week. Tell the kids the lights don't come on. My mother used to tell me, lights don't come on by themselves. You know, I pay the light man. Like, I'm not married to the light man. I pay the light man. By the way, my mother divorced my father over money. I asked her, was she ever going to get married again? She said, yes, if I get married, he's going to be a BMW. I said, Mom, you going to marry a car? She said, no, a black man working. So, my mother's credit score is 840, by the way. Get it, Mom. I need to Smith don't play. So, let's look at this. And by the way, I don't want to distress you, but when I say from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, you're dealing with a financial transaction. In reality, it's 24 hours a day. It's when you sleep. Yes. Who paid for the mattress that you sleep on? The sheets on the mattress. The pillow you lay your head down on. Is this clicking yet?
Yes.
You set an alarm on what?
Your cell phone.
On your phone. If you're old school, you have an alarm clock. Who paid for the alarm clock? So I have people coming to me. I have this Facebook channel that, by the way, we want people to buy books from Barnes and Nobles today. We want to push support for Barnes and Nobles so they support more good causes like this. But people will, on my Facebook page, 44 million viewers, growing 11,000 a week, but 88% of all viewers watch on this, not a TV set. They watch on this. Now, did the government, maybe I'm naive, did the government of the United States, did the Socialist Department of the government of the United States give everybody a mobile phone? See, this is so deep, nobody wants you to hear. Did the government of the United States, unknowns to me, there's a Socialist Department of the government of the United States, and they gave everybody a cell phone. Or did you buy it? Now, my guess is that you bought it. This gets to the second point of the first rule, which is that you are human capital. So you say, I don't like capitalism. Okay, slow down now. So 92% of all jobs in the United States of America are private sector jobs. I'm just giving you facts now. 8% of all jobs are government jobs. Let's deal with the government jobs for the moment. We'll say, I don't like free enterprise. I don't like capitalism. I want to work for the government. Okay, who's paying the government? Even the cameraman said, I am. Your taxes, come on now, we're having a real conversation. The taxes you pay from the what? No. Well, I'm saying purchases too. But let's deal with the primary source of income to the United States government. The taxes you pay from the what? From the JOB, payroll taxes, go to fund the what? The government. So the people in the government are being funded by who? By you. And if you're not voting, come on now, if you're not voting about the very government that you're funding, then you are actually abdicating your own position of power in your own country.
Wow.
So when Ambassador Andrew Young is challenged about the state of our country, he says, this is not my country. This is my country. This is my country, and no one's going to take it from me because I'm the one with the power. So you say, no, big companies run this country. No, they don't. We allow them to run this country because 70% of all GDP, gross domestic product in this country, is consumer spending. 70% of the $18 trillion of the largest economy in the world, we are the largest economy in the world, are you and me paying for cell phones, water bottles, coffee at Starbucks, buying books at Barnes & Noble, paying light bills, rent statements. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
You are really the American royalty, but we are abdicating our own power and walking away from our own power base, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So number one, who's capital? Why are you hesitating? The word capital comes from the Latin root word capitas, which means knowledge in the head. So capital has nothing to do with money. I know I'm frying your brain. So all capital, as you know it, you say no, capital is money. That's just a means of transporting and transferring value. That's all that is. I can literally write your bank routing number on the back of your shirt. Your bank routing number, your bank account number, and I could say pay $100 to the order of this gentleman's name, sign it. I could take your shirt to the bank and cash it. Because it has nothing to do with the instruments with which you use to transfer the wealth. I'm just simply trying to transfer money from your account to his, which is why you can do it with a check, a credit card, a debit card, or soon electronic or digital money. So real capital comes from the Latin word capitas, which is knowledge in the head. So this is why mindset is so important. Now, human capital. Are you going to argue that you're not human capital? So we don't get in an argument about an argument. Okay, you're God's creation. You're human capital. You are the value of the world. Without people, nothing happens. We agreed on that? Okay. Human capital. You say, but I'm not a capitalist. Okay, so you're working for free. I know you love your job, some of you. I know that the camera crew loves their job. I talked to the producer, she loves her job. But my guess is, I talked to the manager, she loves her job. But my guess is, if they stop paying you, you might be a little late for work. You might say, I'll show up when I want to.
Right.
Am I talking to myself?
No, you're right.
This is real talk. Even if you really enjoy the place, your employer loses their negotiating power over you if they're not transferring value for your time. You with me so far?
Yes.
I'm frying your brain, so I'm just trying to walk you through this because whatever I'm saying to you is completely counterculture to what you have been told and how you have told the world works. And this is the conspiracy. It's like watching the movie The Matrix. It's either the blue pill or the red pill.
Yes.
Because whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're absolutely right. This is why somebody says to me, well, you know, John, you want me to be positive, but there's so many reasons to be negative. Let me tell you one reason why you shouldn't be negative. I can't guarantee you that being positive will make you be successful. I can't guarantee you that reading this book is going to make you wealthy. But what I can guarantee you is if you're negative, you're going to fail. I absolutely guarantee you that if you're negative and you have a negative mentality about life, you will fail. Back to the story. So if you're human capital and if you're transferring your time and your knowledge for a paycheck, are you now participating in capitalism?
Yes.
So you say, well, I don't like capitalism beyond me. Really? So the barber just cuts your hair for free?
No.
Those of us who have hair. I barely get my hair cut. Ladies, the nail tech just loves you so much, they do your nails every week for free.
No.
We have law enforcement here. Wonderful representatives of of our city and our county. But my guess is that they'd be a little less interested in that career if it didn't pay a salary. Is this too deep conversation? So why are we rejecting the system that is literally all around us? It makes no sense. Even the parking meter and an animate object, like my man's laughing, knows where I'm going. I'm just trying to get basic here. Even an inanimate object like a parking meter understands capitalism better than we do. Because it collects money all day long. No emotions, don't argue, don't complain. Will not deal with you unless you pay. And if you don't pay because you're in protest, you'll come back and there'll be a boot on your car because one way or another you're going to pay for the time and the space usage of the parking meter. So the parking meter gets it. Why shouldn't we? So let me now deal with the moral issue here. This is a moral issue also. I need somebody, by the way, Lance, or somebody to give me a time. Jamie, let me know when I'm wrapping up. I need to wrap up and do Q&A because I don't want to go. You never want to be the old guy in the club. So before you kick me out, I'm going to leave. Charmila, my assistant, makes sure that I'm always on time. But today she's being gracious. So Jamie, make sure you give me your time. So, moral issue. We should have in the world a world where capitalism and free enterprise and money sits within our culture. Follow that? Yes. But since Jesus turned over the money changers' tables in the temple, what has been the reality of faulty human beings is that we have a culture that's really inside of our economy. Did you get that? Yes. So understand, I'm acknowledging there's a moral issue here. Let me repeat that. Morally, in an ideal world, I want everybody to hear me saying this. Camera, I want you to hear me saying this. So I might say John Bryant's just advocating everything to capitalism. We should, in a perfect world, have our culture outside of, or our economy inside of our culture. But in reality, with faulty, selfish, self-centered human beings, since Adam and Eve have been a little broken. A saint is a sinner that got up. A saint is a sinner that got up. We're just trying the very best we can to be the very best people we can be. But we are self-centered by our nature. We have to find our higher angels. Now, that means that we have, unfortunately, a culture that sits inside of our economy, which means that folks want to get paid, to be blunt. So your nail tech is a capitalist. Your hair technician is a capitalist. The barbershop is a capitalist. The gas station is a capitalist. Try not paying your phone bill. See how that works for you. Even if you want to go protest capitalism, you're driving in a car that you pay a car note for, and you're paying in gas that you stopped at a gas station for, and you stayed at a house that somebody's paying rent for. Can I get it? Amen. Even if you're going to protest capitalism. So let's just acknowledge, first and foremost, we live in a free enterprise system. Can we get there? Yes. Number two, understand that you are capital. Let me go now to the second rule. The second rule of my book is that mindset makes or loses you money. This is so important. This is where folks really get you. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're absolutely right. So if your mindset has been, now I'm gonna just deal with African Americans for a moment. I'm gonna get real deep here for a minute. When I did the Roland Martin show, and I said that that slavery was about money, the audience jumped all over me. They tweeted, they wrote, no, it's a moral issue. It was immoral. It was horrible. But make it very clear. Nobody went all across the world to grab you and bring you over here just because they wanted to be mean to you.
Amen. Amen. You're right. You're right. That's right.
Let me get you a compliment. Africans were agricultural geniuses.
Yes.
That's why they went to Africa, to get the folks who were experts in soil, who could work all day in strange, hot, uncomfortable environments, who were absolutely brilliant in the agricultural age, and bring them to a place that had good soil, which was the southern states. They couldn't do it in Europe because the soil in Europe was not conducive to those crops. So they had to have the best people in the best place for the best crops of that time. It was all about building a country for free. It was about money. You were collateral damage. I hate to put it that way. It was immoral, it's disgusting, it was the original sin, but it was about money. Now, that's why we had a civil war. Because railroads were worth $2 billion by that time, and black folks, slaves, were worth $4 billion. And nobody wanted to give up their housemaids and their fancy life and their mansions because of a moral issue. I'm sorry, they just didn't. They should have, but they didn't. Now, 1865, March 3rd, Abraham Lincoln, good man. Not a perfect man. Stop with this perfect stuff. Because if you want to start picking perfect, then you got to walk out of the room yourself.
Amen.
Can I get an amen? Amen. So the C-SPAN did not know they were having a church session today. So Abraham Lincoln, a good man, signed the law on March 3rd, 1865, to quote, teach free slaves about money through something called the Freedmen's Bank. The Freedmen's Bank's mission, quote, to teach free slaves about money. He wanted to bring us back into the free enterprise system. That's why he gave us 40 acres and a mule. That was January 1865. It was called Field Action 15, 400,000 acres from North Carolina all the way down to Miami, down the coast, 30 miles in. First came the land. We worked that land so hard. The next month, no Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, no cell phones, no nothing. We found the land, we worked it. They said give them a mule because we're so industrious. Then a month later came the bank. The same day he signed legislation for the bank, he put in God we trust on U.S. currency. Translation, never again shall slavery, immoral and unethical, be tied to government-endorsed capitalism ever again in our life. That was 1865, March 3rd. He was killed the next month. So you never heard of the bank before. So Frederick Douglass, who you know as an abolitionist, and I know as a businessman, who owned $5 million worth of real estate and rented that real estate to working class blacks in Baltimore. Come on, do your history. You know him as an abolitionist. I know him as a businessman who put up $10,000 of his own money to try to save the Freedmen's Bank in 1865, which meant he was not a broke man, because that was $20 million in 1865. And when the bank failed, it was said the failure of this bank did more to set free slaves in America back than 10 more years of slavery. You pop your fingers from 1865, this black man and this white man working together on an oppressive progressive agenda, to 1968 with Dr. King and my mentor Andrew Young, Ambassador Andrew Young, trying to launch the Poor People's Campaign, which was about poor whites. There's more poor whites today than as it was then. Poor whites, poor blacks, Latinos, Asians, Indians, and others, trying to bring them into the free enterprise system. And here's what Dr. King said. You cannot legislate goodness. You cannot pass a law to force someone to respect you. The only way to social justice in a capitalist country is economics and ownership. And that's a quote you don't hear very often. And he was killed April 4th, 1968, before the first march of the Poor People's Campaign. Here's my message to you. It's not that you're dumb or you're stupid. You're brilliant. But it's what you don't know that you don't know that's killing you. You never got the memo. Lincoln tried to give you the memo, he was assassinated. King tried to give you the memo, he was assassinated. It's been 150 years, and you never got the memo. So you're not dumb and you're not stupid, you just never got the memo. What happens when you get the memo? Now here's slavery. Slavery is, so once you get through sustenance poverty, which is a roof over your head, food on your table, and reasonable health care, all other poverty is mental. I can give a homeless man $1 million, he'll be broke in 6 months. Because nothing changed here. 80% of all lottery winners broke 5 years after retirement. 70% of all NFL players broke 5 years after retirement. 84% of all NBA players bankrupt 5 years after retirement because they never got the memo on money. So here's poverty. 350 years you've been told you weren't anything. Black slavery. 100 years of Jim Crow, ending in 1970, not 1870, in your lifetime, which means your self-esteem is in the toilet. So I think it's completely rational to say that 80% of black people are clinically undiagnosed depressed. Now, we never had this conversation before, but does that resonate with you or not?
Yes.
It does, yeah, it does. It's common sense.
Yes.
So here's poverty. Half of poverty is low self-esteem and lack of confidence in yourself.
Yes.
If you don't know who you are by 9 in the morning, by dinner time, somebody's going to tell you who you are.
Yes.
Second part of poverty, crappy role models and a crappy environment. I gotta go really fast now. I'm running out of time. You guys enjoying this?
Yes.
Very much so.
So this is the second, I'm gonna do really fast now. Yes. So role models. If all you see in your neighborhood is symbols of success are rap stars, athletes, and drug dealers, then why is anybody surprised that kids grow up in our neighborhood wanting to be a rap star, an athlete, or a drug dealer? It's not idiocy, it's brilliance. You're modeling what you
See.
It's common sense. Why am I a businessman? I saw a businessman growing up. He was my father wearing a suit. Why do I love myself? My mother told me to. My mother told me she loved me every day of my life. It's not some radical concept. It's modeling what you
See.
So let me give you the second part of poverty. It's environment, which basically means if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th.
Amen.
I'm gonna get a t-shirt. It says the memo on the front, and this is gonna be the quote on the back. If you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. Am I telling you to hang around not hang around your cousin boo-boo? I am not. I'm saying not to make them your role model.
Right.
Am I saying you should hang around fancy people? Yes! Am I saying you should try to find somebody who's more successful than you?
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Why do you find somebody who's dumber than you, stupid, with no job, and say, that's my role model? It makes no sense. Of course you should try to find somebody. People know John Bryant's already talking about fancy names. Yes! What else should I be talking about? So, the last part of poverty is aspiration and opportunity. Aspiration is really a code word for hope. The most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope. So here's poverty. Crappy self-esteem and crappy confidence. Crappy role models, a crappy environment. No hope, which means you see opportunity nowhere. You see the glass half empty, not half full. You never leave your porch. So here's wealth. High self-esteem and high confidence. Good role models and enabling environment. You're optimistic, you see opportunity everywhere. So when you say gentrification is happening in my neighborhood, what you're really saying is a dude that's been sitting there for 40 years and never bought anything, but never bought that shack, he thought it was normal. He thought the check casher next to the payday loan lender, next to the rent-to-own store, next to the title lender, next to the liquor store was normal. And I say that's modern slavery.
Amen.
And am I getting too deep?
No.
Andrew Young quote, to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise just may be the very definition of slavery. Let me take race out of this now. Whether you're white, rural, or black and brown urban, here's what you see in your neighborhood. A check casher, payday loan lender, rent-to-own store, title lender, liquor store, and we think it's normal. It's not normal. Riots don't happen in a 700 credit score neighborhood. Of any race. There's never been a riot in a 700 credit score neighborhood in America's history because they don't riot in a 700 credit score neighborhood, they go shopping. That was funny. It's okay, I still can't, but it's okay to laugh. So we riot in a 500 credit score neighborhood. Poor black and brown folks tend to riot emotionally in the streets, tearing up the last few businesses, by the way, that we own or somebody owns, we're giving somebody a job, which makes a bad situation worse. Now they don't want to come back. My white rural friends have rioted at the ballot box. But we all riot. Now, what's my mission at Operation Hope? To move credit scores 120 points in 24 months. Because nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. And when you move your credit score up, your self-esteem goes up. Your confidence goes up. Your belief goes up. Your faith in the system, your trust, your confidence, your optionality. Do you know that 44% of all African Americans in this country have a credit score below 620? Now that didn't hit you the way I hoped it would. Let me break this down for you. That means that half of black folks having nothing to do with racism, discrimination, or police brutality, or all the stuff we picket for every day of the week. Half of us can't get a loan for a small business. You can't get a loan for a small business at 620 credit score. I don't care how brilliant your idea is. You can't get a loan to become an entrepreneur. You can barely get a home loan. It's not going to be a good home loan, which means you're paying the highest interest rate for the worst product, which is, by the way, exactly what a payday loan lender does to you, a rent-to-own store. My sister sent me a notice yesterday. A rent-to-own store was trying to rent to her headphones at $19 a week. Is it only me that this sounds ridiculous to? Do you know you could buy those headphones 4 times over in 2 months? But when you don't know what you don't know, you accept this as normal. So as I say, gentrification. All gentrification really is a white family who says, that little home is 10 minutes from my job. I can buy it for nothing. They can tell all their other friends to come and join them. They end up buying everything on that block. By the way, it wasn't the Klan going in with some picket, with some torches and running you out of town. No, we give this property away.
Amen.
Let's call it the way we see it. We give it away, and then we argue. We get upset with somebody who saw the same value that we did. Let me explain something to you. Every inner city in America will be overtaken in 10 years through a very simple concept. It's centrally located real estate.
Wow.
Because an inner city in France is called Paris, ladies and gentlemen. So what you have to do is get the memo. Go buy the crappiest property on the best block in your neighborhood. Go to somewhere in Atlanta. We're in Atlanta. You can buy $15,000 shacks in Atlanta, 2 miles from a $1 billion stadium development. Go buy it, rehab it, and rent it. Buy it, rehab it, and sell it. Do that 3 times, and you now have a hedge against poverty for the rest of your life. You now build wealth for generations yet unborn. Go get your earned income tax credit, and you don't know what EITC means, you qualify. Because if you make $53,000 a year or less, and you work in this country, the government owes you a check. This is what drives me crazy. If you make $32,000 a year, and you never qualify for never file for EITC, you're owed $9,000. You make $33,000 a year, you have 2 children, the government owes you about $4,000, and it's retroactive for 3 years. Why are we asking somebody for a loan? Why are we begging the government for whatever it is? This is your right. Take that $9,000 and don't go to Bahamas. Don't go on vacation, I see you. Go buy you some real estate. Buy you something that's going to help you get wealthy when you sleep. You will not get wealthy unless it's making money when you sleep. Take your capitalism and compound it by buying you some real estate, buying you some stock. Don't say I can't afford to buy stock. This is a defeatist mentality. Buy fractional shares. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up on the internet. Internet just sets you free. It makes you look smart even when you don't. Look it up on the internet, fractional investment. For $10 a month or a pay period, you can buy any stock in the world. Buy you some stock. Buy you some real estate. Get you some education. Do something that leverages you on top of you. If you don't have compounded interest, have compounded hustle. I'm out of time, but let me give you one last deal. I told you about mindset. I told you about that everything's about money. I've only gone through 2 of the 5 rules. The 3rd rule is about relationship capital. You have idiots and fools running countries and companies and bring people who are homeless precisely because it's not just about how smart you are. Now, there's only one reason to go to Harvard. I love Harvard School. But you only go to Harvard and pay 5 times more. You don't go to Harvard and pay 5 times more because you're getting 5 because you'll become 5 times smarter. You with me?
Yes.
You go to Harvard for one reason. Listen now, listen. Because the class of 2018 is going to hook each other up for the next 40 years. That's it. That's the only reason to go to Harvard. You can get the same education at a state university. College is an ecosystem. College is where you find and meet people who are of your same education and aspiration, and you're going to hook each other up because relationships matter. If you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. You hang around 9 small business people, you'll be the 10th. You hang out, whatever you hang around is what you will be. Watch who you hang around. And get out of your comfort zones. Black folks, stop just going to black parties. White folks should start going to white parties. We need to stop just going to Jamaica on vacation. I like Jamaica, okay? Go someplace that makes you uncomfortable. Stop just eating barbecue. Stop just going, be unpredictable. I'm not saying don't like these things. I'm saying expand your mind. Because without expanding your mind, you can't expand your pocket. Let me leave you with this thought. You cannot segregate your heart and integrate your pocket. I'm talking to everybody now. Whites, blacks, Asians, Indians. You cannot segregate your heart and integrate your pocket. You cannot have a business that wants everybody's as a client, but you only want to hang around people who look like you. It does not work. People will get the sense that you don't like them. Like everybody, love everybody, because we're all God's children. And whatever goes around, comes around. So you now just heard from the only best-selling book on money and economics. It actually doesn't talk about money and economics. I'm out. Can I show you time for Q&A? Yes? Okay. So I actually didn't talk about the 5 rules. I talked about 3 of the 5 rules. I did the best I could. But by the way, I just skimmed the surface of the 3 rules. So you really need to get in this book. You got to read it 3 or 4 times. This is a mind snapper. This is a neck snapper. This is completely counterintuitive to whatever people have told you about how this world works. You have been, as Malcolm X said, bamboozled. You've been tricked. You've been fooled. You've been hoodwinked. There's a whole other system going on out here, and we're not participating in it because we don't understand how the system works. I'm going to make this again real simple for you. On the way from this place on home, you're going to pass by wealth waiting to be born. Do not take your money and go downtown and buy and rent real estate at $2,000 to $3,000 a month from a guy like me. By the way, I'm the largest minority-controlled owner of rental residential real estate in the country. So I love if you want to rent real estate. Rent it from me, I'll take your money. I'll take your money. I don't want to. I'm telling you not to do it. I'm telling you not to go downtown and go rent some fancy skyscraper condo that you don't own at $2,000 a month because you're trying to profile. Paying somebody some money you don't know about something you don't own, about some place that doesn't care about you, about a place that you don't have any ownership in, because if you're paying $2,000 a month, that's $25,000 a year. If you make $50,000 a year, you're taking half of your income, open a window, and push it out. Amen. Go buy a shack. Rehab it, rent it, and sell it. Or rehab it and rent it and keep it and build your wealth. Don't hit anybody with a brick. Hit them with your American Express black card and knock them out. Don't get mad, get even by participating in this system. Because all wealth in this country that didn't come from crime or government contracting or lawlessness came from poor people who realized their value, because Walmart was a guy with a high school education and a pickup truck in the storefront with a vision for himself that's now the largest retailer in the world. His name was Sam Walton. What can you do if you decide to take your life back and transform your existence and decide to not just cash checks, but write them? Amen. Question?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for this. Like, I had to write down almost every word you said. Like, you're my mentor from afar. We've never met. Like, I follow you religiously. And I wanted to ask you because I always say that capitalism is based on ignorance. Like, I always talk about, like, how you take me to a car lot and you're looking for ignorant clients. You say, hey, that's a bad car lot. You know, find a better car lot. If you take me to a doctor, the doctor's looking for ignorant patients. You say, that's a bad doctor. Take me to a better doctor. But if you take me to a bank, and you say this bank is looking for ignorant clients, I got no answers for you, because every bank is looking for ignorant clients. And I know I learned from you religiously. So my question for you is, we recently had a movement where we were just pushing everybody to open up these accounts in these black banks. Like, everybody was just on social media like, man, where's yours? I got mine. What do you think? Because it blew my mind that right after that campaign, I think it was Bank of America released this initiative where they're just opening up homes in black people, like they were just literally marketing to melanated people about what. I just wanted to hear from you, Mr. John Hope Franklin. What do you
John
think?
Franklin is somebody greater than me. I'm
Mr. John O'Brien.
It's okay, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. I don't mind that.
I want to hear from you. What, if anything, you think these banks that were able to leverage that and capitalize off of that, what do they owe us, if anything?
So, this is a great question. We don't have time for really me to get down deep into this. I did a video on this on my page, just on this whole black bank movement, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Go watch the video, it's like 45 minutes. Let me try to answer the question though directly, because I always answer a question. Banks actually are one of very few businesses that actually don't prosper on ignorance. Now though, ignorant banks, there are some, have decided to get out of the loan business and into the fee business, and those do prosper on your non-sufficient fund charges and your overdraft charges and all that kind of stuff. But those are not the big banks. The ones who are making all their money need to lend you money. Now, if you have a 580 credit score, the bank cannot lend you money. They're forced to tell you no. Here's the real interesting thing. The bank literally, by law, because of redlining, which was real, now they must take your application, whether you qualify or not. So the bank pulls your credit report. They know you're not going to qualify for the loan. They won't tell you for fear of being sued by you. So they must let you go through the entire process, and then they tell you, so they're not sued, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, you're not approved of this loan. You say why, they won't tell you why. You need to go to the 3 credit bureaus to find out why. When you have low self-esteem, low confidence, you got crap, you're financially illiterate, you're not going to the 3 credit bureaus. You're going to give up and say the bank's the devil. Here's what we've decided to do. We went inside of bank branches and opened up open side locations. We're now the only nonprofit in U.S. history allowed to operate inside of a bank branch. We're going to finish what Abraham Lincoln started with the Freedmen's Bank. We have 102 locations, and we're getting the bank out of the no business into the yes business by getting your credit score up from 580, which we know you can't be approved at, to at least 650. And if we can get it to 685, like this young lady here, then you can actually get a 4% mortgage. A 4% mortgage, which we do all the time. But if you have a 580 credit score, a mortgage company, not the bank, will give you an 18% mortgage. Did you hear me? So you storm out of the bank branch, say, I'm upset, go down to Joe and Luigi or Boo Boo's mortgage company, and they'll give you an 18% mortgage along with a 24% car loan, along with a payday loan, and rob you in broad daylight of your own money. Or you can learn this system, let us pull your credit report, because the bank won't do it. We're sitting 10 feet from the bank, but my people work for me. So we pull the credit report. What's that? I don't know. That's called an error. Everybody with a 600 credit score has an error on their credit report. Did you hear me? Everybody has an error. That error, once we remove it, and by the credit bureaus, there's a law. Within 30 days, they either have to confirm it or they must remove it. So once we write a letter, not protest, not scream and holler, not go down with picket signs, not say everybody's a devil, not say we hate the IRS, none of that stuff works. You gotta write a letter. Mr. Credit Bureau, Miss Credit Bureau, I don't believe this is mine. They have to check their records. If they cannot confirm it within 30 days, the law states silver rights, not civil rights. Silver rights states they must remove it. When they remove it, sir, it's good for 40 points. So now you go from 580 to 620. What happens to your confidence? Your self-esteem, your belief in the system. So now you say, okay, what next? When you say what next, we got you. Because what's our mission in Operation Hope is to reintroduce you back to yourself. You were born perfect. You were born optimistic. You were born believing. But the world taught you racism, discrimination. The world taught you hate, impossible. The world taught you couldn't do something. The world beat you down. The world taught you to be cynical. But you were born optimistic. So once we show you that the system works, okay, what next? Then we say, well, what's that? Well, that was a divorce. I didn't pay the phone bill. Okay, 10 years ago, $1,000 phone bill, 3 months unpaid. I don't have $1,000, you say. That's fine. SBC sold that debt to Pac Bell. Pac Bell sold that debt to AT&T. AT&T chased you. They sold that to Jones Finance Company for $50. 5 cents on the dollar. We call Joe's Finance Company. How do we know? The number's right in the memo section under the debt. We call them, hey, I got Miss Jones here. We're looking for her. She's looking for you. We want to pay it off. I don't have $1,000. That's okay. We want $100, which is double what they paid for. You follow me? They paid how much? 50. They're asking for 100. We offer them 200. Our coaches. Why? We want the cooperation. We want them to be optimistic. So we're going to make him look like a hero to his boss. We're going to pay him $200. He's going to give us his direct phone number, his email address. He's going to write a letter to the credit bureaus saying you're a model citizen. When they write the letter to the credit bureaus, that comes off your credit report as satisfied. That's 30 points. Where are you at now? 650. She got an 80% discount. He got a 200% profit. Everybody wins. With me so far? This is about getting the memo. This is not about some emotional thing about black banks. If you take all the black banks in America and put them together, they're less than $5 billion in assets. We need not a social justice campaign. We need financially literate people who understand money so that you have something to put in a bank. Because if you open an account out of emotionalism for $5 and you try to withdraw $6 the next week, the bank's actually worse off because now they're managing an account that has no money. So we need to not just be emotional. Don't react, respond. Don't get mad, get even. It's not about black, white, red, brown, and yellow. It's about having some more green. So what bank do I like? I like the bank that's lending in my neighborhood with prime rates. That's the bank I like. I like the bank that's making me a home loan, a small business loan, that's helping me become entrepreneurs. If that's a black bank, fantastic. We do business with black banks. We do business with Hispanic banks. I do business with whoever is trying to help. I'm an equal opportunity capitalist. Now, I know some people are not going to like that. I don't care. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. It's not like what we've been trying has worked and I'm bringing something else. I'm saying, somebody said to me, I don't like, why should I try God? Because God cannot possibly mismanage your life worse than you have. That's why you should try. So once we get a credit score for that lady at the 685, as we do, we walk across the hall quiet. No screaming, no hollering, no drama. We present her application. She gets a 4% mortgage, treated like a queen, becomes a homeowner. We got that same lady in Memphis, Tennessee, earning a tax credit check for $10,000 she wasn't planning on even getting. She then goes and buys that house in the hood in Memphis. Now she has 10 grand to go to hire the guy who could be her biggest problem in the neighborhood, stealing from her. That same guy who's brilliant, by the way, because all a drug dealer is an illegal, unethical, lost entrepreneur. But he's not dumb. He understands import, export, finance, marketing, wholesale, retail, customer service, security, territory, logistics. Brilliant guy, bad role models. We hire that guy to do landscaping for her. Sorry, she hired. She goes to Home Depot, gets some landscaping equipment. She goes to Home Depot, hired another brother in the neighborhood to paint the house. She's making friends in the neighborhood, creating jobs, and boosting GDP through her sales at Home Depot. You do that one house a block, you change our whole neighborhood. See, I'm not emotional about this. We need a business plan, not an emotional reaction. We can't be black for a living anymore. Folks can't be Latino for a living, can't be white ignorant for a living, you can't be angry for a living. Whatever drama you got needs to step away because nobody cares. The only question is, are you contributing to the economy and to the culture? That's the question. Are you a good role model for your children? This is the question. We've got to stop making dumb sexy. We've dumbed down and celebrated, and we got to make smart sexy again. And what the question you just asked is the right question. We have to start having a different answer. So when the black bank is lending in our neighborhood, because they have low capital, oftentimes they can't lend in our neighborhood. Even if we put all the money in the world there, they don't need more deposits, they need more equity. Am I going too deep here? They don't need more people giving them money on deposit. They need somebody investing equity in the bank so that they have freedom to make loans to whomever they want. You got me? Yes. But if you have limited capital, you have to make conservative loans. We have to understand how money works. Next question. I'm being told I got to get in the hook. So, are you guys enjoying this?
Yeah.
I got 10 minutes? Okay. So, it's really deep. C-SPAN is giving me grace. My own guy in Operation Hope is saying, cut it. All right.
You've been to South Africa.
I just got back from South Africa 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know how was the memo, how can they apply the circumstances?
So it's a great question. And by the way, before I go to South Africa, let me just say, I have compassion for my white rural friends. We should all have compassion for our white rural friends. Because for 60 years, we have ignored them. Imagine how you would feel if you were ignored for 60 years. The Industrial Revolution walked away from them 60 years ago, from their small town. No more factories. Their income went in the toilet. Their standard of life went in the toilet. Politics didn't pay attention to them. And they're frustrated and upset. 15% of white rural people, of white Americans have a credit score below 620. That's a 28 million people. That's basically white, rural, small towns. So now they're upset. And they're dealing with the same thing we're dealing with, but they have no spokesman. Are you following me? So they respond with fear and frustration, and now they think immigrants are their problem, but immigrants are not their problem. In fact, the reality is that 9 out of 10 job deaths was because of automation, not immigration. That's the fact. But people playing on their emotions and playing on their fear have told them that somebody else is their problem. What did I say? Whether you're white, black, red, brown, or yellow, you want to see some more? Green. So we have opened offices in rural white America to level the playing field, increase their credit score, give them more optionality, increase their standard of living, and when I think you do that, you decrease racial tensions. Because it's not about race anyway. It's about cratering jobs and economic fear. Can I get an amen? Amen. South Africa. You have 55 million people and 5 million taxpayers. Did you get that? I'm going to repeat it. Maybe you didn't understand what I just said. A population in the country, there's no trick. There's nothing trick in what I'm saying. This is just data. Facts are stubborn things. 55 million people in South Africa, the largest economy on the African continent. 5 million taxpayers. You don't get that. You have 5 million people paying for 55 million people. The problem in South Africa is not race, it's poverty. And so no one's going to hire all these poor, uneducated, disconnected folks from the townships into skyscrapers, not because of racial animosity, but if I have one job available and I have a choice between you look very intelligent, very thoughtful, but I don't know you. I'm a white male in this example. I've got the producer who is Caucasian, but I don't know her either, but at least she's Caucasian, I don't know her either. And then I've got my cousin, Joey, who is not as intelligent as you, but I need my cousin to get a job, so he stop asking me for money. Who am I going to hire? Your cousin. That's not complicated. That's the way the world works. So if you have a bunch of people in skyscrapers with limited jobs, who are they going to hire? People they know. They're not going to hire these folks out in the townships. So the folks in the townships, and this is my 4th chapter in the book, which is if you can't get a job, create one. Don't just be a check cashier, be a check writer. So what we need is a generation of entrepreneurs, startups, shoot-ups, and self-employment projects. What I believe that Africa needs is not more trade, they need more taxpayers. They need people who need to not just say, I'm going to go get a job, I'm going to go create a job. The guy who made this suit, this guy named Bryant Taylor, made the shirt I'm wearing too. He came to me because he wanted to be a fashion designer in New York. He's living in LA, black guy. John, I'm going to go to fashion school, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I said, Ryan, I'm not trying to bust your bubble. That might work. The likelihood is you're not going to get a great job in New York. Nobody knows you. You follow me? It's not necessarily racism. It's nobody knows you. They have no relationship with you. Ryan, why don't you create your own fashion house? I never thought about it. So we gave him a $35,000 loan. He raised his credit score. He went to a class in small business like you did. Got his confidence up, self-esteem up, started his own business. Now he's doing $1.6 million a year for the last 10 years. Do the math, that's $20 million. He's created $20 million of his own wealth, has 6 employees, raising his children, paying his taxes, charting his own life. Here's here's freedom today. Freedom today is self-determination. Freedom in Mandela's day, 20th century, freedom in Dr. King's day, Gandhi's day, Michael Collins in Ireland, because it's not racial. That was about democracy, the right to vote. Today, it's free enterprise. It's capitalism. Freedom today is self-determination. You can't self-determine yourself without understanding money, capitalism, and free enterprise and how the system works. It's about getting the memo. So the South Africa needs the very same thing that Saudi Arabia needs, because you have all these people on welfare in Saudi Arabia that the kingdom is giving money to not work. And so they're trying to put people to sleep by giving them subsidy payments, but they're realizing the oil is running out and they need a new business plan. So they're trying to radically change Saudi Arabia. But where you name the country, I can tell you it's the exact same problem. So yes, this would work in South Africa. Yes, ma'am.
I work in social justice, and I saw that you do some policy work, so I wanted to ask you more questions about what you're doing as far as like policy and building financial literacy, especially in social justice movements.
Yeah, so thank you for that. You give me more credit than I deserve. I'm really an idiot. Here's why I'm an idiot. So in 2008, I had an opportunity to work with President George Bush. People say, oh, you know, why are you working with this president or that president? I said, look, if you're Bill Clinton and you ask me to dinner, I'll say what time. If you were George Bush and you asked me to dinner, I'd say what for. But I'm going to dinner. So I like George. He's actually a nice guy when you get to know him. But we didn't agree on a lot of things politically. Reagan and I didn't agree on a lot of things politically. But we found a couple things we could agree on, because they basically were agents for good. I can't speak for all presidents, but the ones I knew were agents for good. You guys will figure that out later. And he asked me, what do I want? And I said I wanted this and wanted that, and it didn't work out. And finally, I offered to resign from my advisory role, and he said, don't resign, come meet with me. So he said, what do you want? I said, I want financial literacy as U.S. policy. So they said yes. And in 2008, the federal government, the president signed financial literacy as U.S. policy, first time in U.S. history. Unfortunately, my dumb rear end forgot to ask for money. So the guy talks about money, forgot to ask for money. And so now it's an unfunded mandate. So it's the federal policy of the U.S. government, but no school district will do it because it's not funded. But once again, a school district is a business. It's a business. Every child that goes, here's what gets me about us in school. We got kids not going to school. But in South Africa, you pay to go to school. Parents pay for their children to go to almost every place but America. Certainly any developed country, parents pay for their children to go to school. So if you were a parent there, you say, I dare you not to go to school. You tell your kid, I'm paying for you to go to school. I dare you not to show up, right? Where's Sir James Buchanan? My assistant, Sir James. Sir James said, because he raised some kids in the inner city. It's tougher when you have kids in the inner city to raise kids. And Sir James told his kids growing up, in the greatest of love, he said, I've got two choices for you. I want you to go to school, but I'll give you two choices. I can either put you through school or put you through a wall. And if I put you through a wall, when you're going to pay to have to get the wall repaired. Now he wasn't being me. He wasn't going to really do it. But he was saying, you're going to school because I'm paying for it. Most places in the world, we pay to go to school. In America, we have school for free. It's not free. You're paying for it through your taxes. It's not free. You're paying $8,000, $9,000 per kid per year to go to some school. And you just don't see it because it's not coming directly out of your pocket. And so the school district is getting $8,000 per kid, which is why they'll keep a kid who's not learning in school. Got that? It's called social promotion. They'll keep the kid, put them all through grades because they're still getting that check. So we as parents have to demand that our children go to school and our children get an education. We got to short the parent-teacher night. We got to demand that the tools that we're paying are giving our kids a quality education. I should have demanded that the government funded financial literacy, but I failed my own matriculation exam. So one of my goals after I finish with the 1,000 Hope Inside locations I want to stand up by 2020 is to double back and get Congress and the Senate in my lifetime to fund financial literacy, because it should be a right. Financial literacy in a bank account should not be a privilege, it should be a right. It should be a right. How do you live in a system of free enterprise and not understand it? So I told him I got 3 minutes. You guys enjoying this?
Yeah.
And Latoya said, no, you got 2 minutes. All right. Yes, sir. So the boom mic is coming over to you. Just 1 second. You're right behind you. Right there. Right here. Right here.
Well, first I want to say thank you for making my son that little car a few weeks ago.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's right.
My question is, I know you guys are in high school, but what are you guys doing to reach out to younger children from middle school? I think getting them young might be a little better than starting at high school.
Yeah. So the question was, what are we doing for children? So we have a program called Banking on Our Future. We're in 4,000 schools. Now that sounds impressive. Once again, it's not. There's 100,000 schoolhouses in America. 14,000 school districts. So we're in the most challenged schools. I think we're in your son's school. So we're teaching financial literacy. We also have a program called Hope Business in a Box Academy. So it's like Shark Tank for kids. So the kids get 2 minutes to pitch their business idea. We give them financial literacy and all that, and they get 2 minutes to pitch their business idea. If they win, we fund them up to $500 to start a business. They must open a bank account. We need great parents like you to take the kids into the bank to open an account, right? And then we give a role model to stand in the business. And I don't really care ultimately whether these kids become entrepreneurs or not. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, I like them too, but I don't really care if they do. I want them to be resilient. I want them to take no for vitamins. I want them to have a mentality of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. I want them to have a success mentality and over it, around and through it, I'm going to get to it, to be positive and to decide to take their life back at an early age. I started my first business when I was 10 years old. So I want kids to know, and I put the liquor store out of the business, out of the candy business when I was 10 years old. Imagine what it does to your self-esteem as a kid to put the liquor store out of the candy business. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm basically an entrepreneur now, because I had the experience your son had at that age, and the light came on about what I could do, and then once I had a success, nothing was going to stop me. So we're trying to open these academies up in a couple thousand schools. Yeah. Yes, sir. Sorry, there's a question on this side. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just I'm Yale graduate.
Okay.
As it turns out.
Yale graduate?
Yale graduate.
Oh, did he say Yale?
Yes.
Oh, great. I have a great example for you. Go ahead.
And what I want to know, because I went by the hard way and I run my own business, but I'm in debt. And I got, like you said, technical loans and stuff like that, but I make my money as a teacher, as a fool,
Yeah.
teaching the wealthy.
Yeah.
They pay me the regular. So I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But how do I get myself, how do I get loans?
Yeah.
My credit score is lower than I want to be.
Yeah.
I'm still okay.
So what I want you to do, Lance Triggs, raise your hand. I want you to see Lance Triggs. See, I'm not just a PhD, I'm a PhD too. So I want you to, we have 3 million clients at Operation Hope. Our services are free. 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 Because our partners underwrite our budget. So I want you to go to Operation Hope, sign up to 700 credit score communities, sign up to our entrepreneurship and small business program. All services are free, and we'll get your credit score up and help you access capital and grow your business. I do want to say, I got to wrap this up. I love that he went to Yale. Now, why do I love? I want you, if you're black, in this example, go to an HBCU, historically black college university for undergraduate. Get your cultural groove on, get your education. A lot of great HBCUs. Then for graduate studies, go someplace that makes you uncomfortable. Go to Yale, go to Harvard, go to the London School of Economics, go travel someplace, another part of the world. Be uncomfortable so you can expand your territory, meet people you don't know, and grow a different kind of mentality and relationships so that you can operate literally all over the world. I love you. I'm out. C-SPAN, thank you very much. Barnes and Noble, thank you very much. This has been a great opportunity. And Facebook Live, and Jamie Nelson, thank you very much. 44 million viewers and growing. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Am I signing books?